to call this April 16, 2014 regular board meeting to order, and I'd like to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, I would like our assistant director to call.
Do I ask for you, or do we just announce?
Just announce.
Okay, that's what I thought. So we have Board President Sharon Kinley, we have Board Vice President Tricia Miller, we have Samantha Hurtado, we have Dee Knight, we have Treasurer Carl Gilmore, and Secretary Crystal Andel. I'm Assistant Director Lisa Pappas. For staff, and we also have Debbie Maxwell, Administrative Assistant, and we have Laura Bautista, Accountant. And then we have some public.
Yes, we have some public here, and these young men and women, would you please stand and tell us your name and tell us where you're from and why you're here?
I'm Lisa, I'm here from Plainfield North. We have a project that we have to go observe a couple of Plainfield meetings.
Okay,
I'm Darius. I go to Plainfield South, and I'm here with me.
okay,
I'm Marissa. I go to Plainfield North, and I'm here for the project.
okay, and this is for your government class?
Yes.
Okay. And you have to attend
2 meetings.
two local government trustee meetings?
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome to be here, and we will be happy to sign anything you have to sign after the meeting.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Jim
Yes.
Racich?
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Do I have to explain who I am? No. Do I have to have anything signed? No, I don't.
Well, I don't know.
Are you taking public comments now?
If you
Well,
would
you don't
like
mind
to
me
comment.
speaking, do you, for a moment? I saw these students the other night at our Village of Plainfield board meeting, and that one young lady, I very distinctly remember Plainfield North and in the band, and does a marvelous job, and all excited, possibly going to Milliken.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You were a
Well,
good
first,
listener.
I'm sorry.
You were a
I have to
good
get my eyes out of the light right there. It's almost like it shines off the back of my head, you know. But, you know what? My name is James Racich. I'm a resident of the Plainfield Library District. I was going to say library board. But I hope you'll indulge me in just a few public comments that I have to make in regard to your library situation. You know, I always say that the public, when we serve the public, the district, no matter if it's the Village of Plainfield Fire District, Library Board, or whatever board you have, I always use a governance philosophy that's basically you have to be responsive and responsible. And I say, is the Plainfield Library District responsible? And I look at, I just look at one little, your folder? Okay, that you passed out. Except with the issuance, I opened it up and saw the snake there. I said, oh, wow, I got out of the way. But I look at it. You know, not only do you take into consideration senior citizens, you take into consideration adults, I hope they're senior citizens, children, registration programs, drop-in programs, from birth to 5 programs, teen programs, and it goes on in outreach, all sorts of individual situations. You know, when I was in the library, I got here a little early. I thought the meeting started at 6 o'clock. I got here just a few minutes early, and I was just sitting in one of the carols over there, and one of the nicest things in the world is to hear the hum of activity. People, I heard a small child squeal, hey, you know, like that, and I said, isn't that marvelous? In the olden days, you remember the olden days, Jim Racich does. You know what the olden days used to do? In a library, you go in, you had to have a muffled feet, muffled voices, and you'd hear someone say, be quiet. And there was never what we have at the library today. This is marvelous, and it's just an area that's totally alive. I look at, you know, just something that is amazing to me, if you don't mind. We're having World Book Night. My daughter is a reading specialist at Mattia High School, and last year, through the efforts of the library here, she ended up with 45 books just to give a book away, not for sale. Anyway, I picked up the books the other night and all the instructions, and my daughter's going to distribute them. And anyway, I was going through the books just to see what's being offered. And then there's one here, it's a Pride and Prejudice series. It's Miss Darcy Falls in Love. I said that my wife Diane, who I think really does like Fitzwilliam Darcy more than she does me. And she said, can I borrow the book? I said, no, you can't borrow it until April the 23rd, and you don't qualify even then. But no, I mean, I'm just joking. But anyway, they're supposed to be distributed that particular night. This is just marvelous. My daughter said, you have no idea when you give a young person, a book who has not been given a book. And these are people who are disadvantaged, she deals with that primarily. Just to receive that type of thing is absolutely wonderful. I look at the program you have that was going on right now on the Great Read on the Wars. I can remember I was born a year or so before the start of World War. Someone said 1. I said no, 2. But yet we still did it. And just a wonderful program like that. You go through your library and you walk around. Things for seniors. Isn't that nice that people still think of us as being somewhat viable? And it's just marvelous. I'm going to take all this stuff home for my wife, not for me. One last thing, if there is a last thing with me. I got this book. It's one of my favorite books at Tolman. Okay?
Very good.
Anyway, I got to tell you. At Christmas, I got a Nook, okay? And one of my kids said to me, Dad, you using a Nook? I said, oh yeah. They said, where are the books on? I said, well, you know what I did? I come over to the library, and what do you think I did? I made an appointment with the librarian, the technical aide, and I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to just isolate one librarian or assistant. Got my Nook loaded, and I can read it, except the only thing is, because I'm from the dinosaur age, you don't have to plug this in. You can take this and not have a battery. This is it's cute, but it's a little bit old. One of my grandchildren said to me, I was leaving tonight and he was stopping over, he said, Grandpa, you forgot your pen. I told Miss Polito here tonight, this is kind of a fun thing. I found a whole bunch of turkey feathers on a walk by a river. And so what I did, I said to the grandkids, I said, hey, have you ever written with a quill pen? And they know, Harry Potter uses one. So what we did is we did research from the library. How do you temper a quill of a pen? And then there's a word, I even told Miss Polito tonight, did you ever hear the word a pen knife? The two words, a pen knife. Well, the little knife to sharpen your quill. And then anyway, we practiced, you can see the ink on the end of it. And it was just a fun thing. But it's a resource that the library allows people to use and just come here and experience the entire situation. I said being responsive, you people are. And being responsible, I think, and I was going to write Carl's name on my hand, so I didn't call him by the name of that person in California, but Carl Gilmore. But anyway, he and I were talking the other day at coffee with the mayor, and we were just talking about the library and how great it is. And I said, being responsible. And responsive, you are responsive to needs, responsible. I think we take this entire group, if we threw a nickel in a rabbit hole, you'd dig the Grand Canyon and find it to spend it at this library. And it's really great. You watch the money. I looked at my tax bill just to, you receive 18 cents on $100 evaluation. My tax bill is of such a nature, but yet I only roughly spend under $200 when my tax bill comes to this function. And what I do continually is I have my book bag, and I never leave until I can barely carry it out the door. And you know, it doesn't cost me any more to take one book or 25 books. And it's really just a great thing. One last thing, one of my children said to me, why don't you get into 21st century? Well, the Nook was a real big push, and then, you know, with email and texting and everything else. And they were writing me about something, and I said to them, I said, you know what, my generation put a man on the moon with a slide rule. Well, even though most people don't know what a slide rule is, but we had one. And you know what my daughter said to me? She said, yeah, Dad, but the trip would have been a lot better if they had DVDs and Nintendo. I said, whatever you do, you're fine. Hey, one last thing I just wanted to mention, and it truly applies to everyone here. When I got married some 50 years ago, someone gave my wife and I a needle point. And it was a little needle point. It said, on the needle point, it said, we still have it, things on bedrooms wherever we moved. God's gift to you is who you are. Your gift to God is what you make of yourself. I'm going to transfer that to an institutional saying. God's gift to you is who you are. Your gift to God or in the community is what you make of yourself. I'm just going to say, you people, through your sincere efforts of not being given a nickel, being here at 6 o'clock at night, 6:30, giving part of your life up to improve our community, to improve our life is marvelous. And I really just want to say, you have done very well. And thank you.
Thank you, Jim. It's always a boost.
Oh, wow. I can be a donor too.
Yeah, Vicky.
Jim put so much in my head, I forgot the rest of what I was going to say. I didn't make notes. The only thing I wanted to mention was I did indeed upload the video I've had so far. It's really just this year's. You didn't have a January meeting. I'd done a test one in December, which I can put up, but I haven't done yet. February and March are up, but I was waiting to get some pretty links so that I could put it out there and say, here's where the video is, where people can access it. I'll be doing the same with this, but I finally caught up and got it up there. It takes a little while to let the videos load. Boy, I was trying to think if there was something else I was going to mention today. That was really about it, except, oh, I did see the new website and everything, and congratulations on that going up. It looks pretty darn good. Thanks.
We're excited for that.
Yes.
Lisa's done a yeoman's work for that one. We appreciate that. Bye-bye. So, any comments from our board?
I think we're covered.
Pretty good, right?
It's always nice to have positive thoughts.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Yes, it is.
right on that.
It's fun.
I would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So,
Second, please.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
And the consent agenda includes the March 19th regular board meeting minutes, the April 7th Personnel Policy Committee minutes, the April 7th Personnel Policy Committee executive session minutes, the Building and Ground minutes of April 14th, and then the approval of the bills paid and the bills payable. So I think we will first, well, we can ask for the whole thing there.
I have corrections I'd like to make to the April 7th Personnel and Policy Committee executive session minutes. They're mainly corrections and just in terms of grammatical. On page,
Well, why, could you make those and give those to Deb, or is it something we need to?
no, I don't think there's anything that would change
Okay.
the actual, I think they're
So-
just grammatical.
Okay.
Okay, so,
If you want to just do that?
okay,
we
then
can do that in summary.
Yeah, yes.
I move we accept the consent agenda with whatever corrections then which are grammatical
Yeah.
to what was aforementioned, and including the approval of bills paid and bills payable in the total amount of $245,616.11.
Is there a second to that motion? Vicky seconds that motion, and that's a roll call.
Sharon?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Samantha? Yes. Vicky?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
And Crystal?
Yes.
Motion carries. You can go on to the committee reports, and we did have 2 committees that met since the last board meeting, and we have to set a time for the finance committee, Carl, so.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to, have you talked with Julie about that? or-
I had not.
Okay.
For
So you
finance?
have-
Yeah,
Did she
Julie was
have
suggesting
suggestions?
meeting, she's like, there's not going to be a lot that changes from what was last seen. So she suggested meeting just before the board meeting in May,
In May.
meeting at 6 o'clock on the 21st, just before.
So it wouldn't take
Oh.
long.
No, she said there's really
That would work for
absolutely
me.
nothing that has
That
changed.
would be a good idea, if that's.
Yeah,
Samantha?
that works for,
Oh,
Aren't you on finance?
Deb, who's on?
You were last time we met.
You were there.
I gave one to
The,
Sarah Fletcher.
Gilmore and Hurtado.
Oh, yeah.
You will be there.
I'll be there.
On the 21st?
Okay.
That's
All right,
May
great.
20.
May 21st.
Yes.
Okay, so that's, so that'll be a 6 o'clock call?
Yes.
One of the recommendations that came from the Personnel and Policy Committee meeting was to set another meeting.
Yes.
Right.
So as long as we're having calendars open, maybe that would be something we could do at this time.
For personnel and policy or for building and grounds?
No, we have a Building and Grounds meeting is set for May 5th
May
at
6th.
6 p.m.
I think it's May 6th.
I
Is it
saw
fifth?
the 5th now,
Hmm.
that's what I had seen.
It is, okay. Julie's got the 6th, so I'll make sure she.
May 5th, Monday.
Yeah, I'll make sure she has that correct.
minutes.
Okay.
I cannot.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Personnel and Policy Committee meeting, it would be helpful for that committee likewise to meet before the May meeting so that we can do some finalizing that have to do with evaluation. So, I know there's a lot of meetings coming up, so I'm
Yeah.
hesitant.
Hmm.
Vicki, Carl? You have the, no, you have the Building and Grounds.
Yeah.
That's okay with you?
That'd be Gretchen and Carl.
Right.
Yeah,
And Gretchen's not
Not
here.
here.
Perhaps I need to call.
Do we want to, yeah, correspond offline about that?
I guess that would
Get
probably
set
be
up?
best because I do want to see whether
You can't be there on the 5th?
I cannot be there on the
We
5th.
can change it to.
we could change what, to the 6th?
I'm going to be gone.
Oh, you'll be
Yeah,
gone.
so,
Because we
that's
only
fine.
had met before the next
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, back to where we were.
Yes.
And a committee report, we will hear from Tricia Miller, Dr. Miller.
Yes, the Personnel Policy Committee met for the purpose of mainly addressing the evaluation of the library director annually. That is what we as a committee are asked to do. And I think in your materials, you did receive a copy of the minutes of that meeting. What I want to open just in general, because we have several newer board members, that I believe that as we go through in evaluating our library director's performance, that we may keep in mind that the library, not just the director, but the staff have gone through such huge changes over the last few years. Certainly since Julie began, and since then, Lisa, you were hired, because of the fantastic growth of the community, which then resulted in our population serving, last count I heard, approximately 75,000 people. That as such within that, what we have done is expanded staff, so that infrastructure has grown, and that was certainly something we needed to keep in mind in terms of how her functions have changed over time. Within that also, we got into a recession which kind of curtailed many things and pushed us into a place in which, although we knew we needed more space, we knew we needed to go in a direction that would give us that expansion potential, that in lieu of that, we had to certainly look at the repair and replacement with major things in this building in order for our building to serve us, and that has been a huge project, which again required a lot of outside contracting, many other things along the way. We've completed, I guess, Tier 1, which was probably the most critical. Roof, air conditioning, heating, the things, the windows, the things that really were a necessity. We are still proceeding on other things that have to be done. Overall, as I have gone to meetings, and I know that other board members certainly have heard this many times as well, that our library director is one of the people that gets a lot of accolades from all kinds of other library people, and so I do think that we have been fortunate to have that kind of person providing direction and leadership for our library. When we were proceeding to do our evaluation, the process that is there is that we do have each board member provide an evaluation to the committee. And we have asked over the past few years to likewise have direct report staff provide an evaluation from their perspective. The personnel committee has reviewed that, and at this point, I was just going to pass out something that might be a summary, so to speak, in what we need to present. The library director is on a multi-year contract, and therefore, we will only reaffirm. We do not have to provide any response that is a vote of the board in terms of her being in our employ. That we also viewed what would be in the contract as far as the benefits and how they would be calculated, since those at this point are tied likewise to what kind of other costs are going to be coming, and that was not available as of our meeting. We will accept that the contract has provisions and that we will know for certain what that monetarily will mean when those figures come in for everyone on the staff. As such, because we want to address two things. One, which is a way in which we can know where some of the outstanding services and skills are for our library director. We certainly went through and found many pros. We had not only unanimous consensus in terms of obtaining the board members' evaluations, but likewise that consensus was there that we believe she is an extremely valuable asset and has done an outstanding job in terms of being the library director of this library district. As we reviewed that, the comments that were made, and I think we have copies likewise of her self-evaluation, her goals for fiscal year that we are currently in, as well as the goals projected for the coming year. A review of the library director's job description and her contract. That in looking through that as well, the committee has come to recommend the addition of the following goals to those that she had presented to us. And I will note there are two, and that these are in response to comments that we received or things that we certainly have noted. One of which is that Julie often will say she just doesn't know how to say no. And the community really loves having her services, as well as library organizations certainly appreciate her services, but that at this point these may likewise be of some help in terms of providing some kind of a view in the community, as well as giving the board members maybe and other staff an opportunity as we're developing our marketing program. I don't know if these need to be read per se. You all have copies of them. And this was a formal motion for a recommendation from the Personnel Committee that these to be added. I have since met with the director and reviewed many specifics, but in addition presented these to her for consideration, and she is agreeable certainly that these should be added to those fiscal year 2015 goals. So would it be helpful that we put these out? We can read these, or?
Do you have a need for us
I
to
think
read them
we all-
aloud? I don't
I'll have
see.
copies.
We all have copies.
Then as such, those are to be presented to the board for approval to add to the fiscal year 2015 goals.
So the recommendations are in front of you, and then we would have a motion to approve those recommendations.
So moved.
Is there a second there? Moved in second. All in favor of that motion? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposing or those abstaining? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, Erin. Very thorough report. Let's see, this goes. And then we have Pat again.
Yes.
As chair.
Well, those committees just met a little bit too close together. As chair of the Building and Grounds Committee, I think that it was unfortunate that Mother Nature decided to snow upon us when we were going to do our tour. So we more or less adapted and did our tour through the windows of the exterior with an eye to perhaps having that opportunity to be outdoors next time. But we did do a tour with Lance Agnew and Julie, our library director, and as such came up with list of the things that have been done or are in process of being done, and there's quite a list, which I believe all of you likewise have a copy. You had an email of that if you don't have a hard copy. I wanted to comment on a couple of things just generally. So, two things really impressed me immediately, and that was one, the change in lighting, where the lighting is being shifted particularly to the use of LEDs. The CFLs were not a good accommodation. I know at home I hate them because they do not produce the kind of bright area. And where the LEDs were replaced, it made a big difference. Even though they are more costly, their costs are going down, and in the long run, that will be a big saving. But I think the whole tone and visibility within the library. So I think that lighting thing is something everyone will notice. The other thing that struck me in our tour was that the new head of maintenance has indicated to me that the building is in good shape. And I think that's the first time I took a tour in the building and grounds in which, so we have things to be done. But I think that was like a, whew, we finally come to that place in which some major thing is not going to just fall apart on us.
I wish you wouldn't have said that.
Well, I hope, exactly.
It's a new set of eyes, give it time.
Well, that's true, but I cannot believe that anything, he even talked about the elevator, and that at this point he's trying to make sure that the elevator operates most of the time. And I said, we'll see, because that has been a plague for us over and over and over. One of the things that certainly we are aware of is that the village is going to complete, and I think that email went to you of the village's plan. The village is going to complete some of the landscaping around the parking area, which has certainly helped us again tremendously. And with that, we want to coordinate as we look at our landscaping. But a couple things that came to our attention. One, we certainly will have to regrade because we will have a water issue. So there will be regrading that will have to be done at the rear of the lot. The other thing that came up was a request that we really reconsider what we're doing with our security cameras. The security cameras as such are, do not have the pixels to really provide the kind of coverage that we want. And there are new cameras available at a reasonable amount that maybe we can explore. In our Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 view of our expenditures, it was indicated that with what was done with some of the roof areas, with the cupolas, that at this point, we can probably defer replacement or intensive work with that and the money that was going to be allocated for that, and perhaps instead paint them, refurbish them, and we would have perhaps the funds that could be useful then in terms of looking at our security systems. So we will, at this point, meet again, but I think that Julie and the head of maintenance, Lance, would rather appreciate if the board would give us some feedback